G'day mates, welcome back to another episode of Sorare Downunder. Sorry we've been a little bit late this week, work's been a bit crazy. Look, I want to start the show by ripping the band-aid off. We've got a bit of sad news. Unfortunately, this is actually our last ever episode as Sorare Downunder. Look, we held on for as long as we could, but at the end of the day, the pressure just got a little bit too much to us and we couldn't handle it.
I'm finished.
But it's not all doom and gloom because I do have some good news. I'm very happy to announce that we will be back under new ownership as Sorare Saudi Arabia. Look, Simon's not actually on a boat in Croatia. That was all bullshit. He's out test driving dune buggies. We're making the move next week. The Saudi government has been very gracious. They've moved us to a hustling, bustling metropolis in the middle of Saudi Arabia called Sultana. Can't wait to get out there. Home of the great Muhammad Ali, actually. So, really looking forward to it. From what I hear, Sultana is just an amazing place to be. So, look, this time next week, it'll be the very first Sorare Saudi Arabia. We can't disclose the transfer fee. Obviously, that's confidential. But let's just say, we will take guac with those nachos, thanks.
And right now we're going to check out most expensivest shit.
We know it's extra. Oh, baby. Look, tuning in next week, episode 1, exclusive interview with one of the biggest stars of the Saudi League. You know him. You love him. It's Knowledge Musona.
Oh my God, we're down.
Can't wait for that. We've also got some other great interviews lined up. We've got some of the biggest stars moving to the Saudi League next week. Joshua Kimmich, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Big Bill Tuiloma.
That's impossible.
We're going to get the down low on the big multi-million-dollar transfer fees. Keep that under your hats. It's a secret.
Not everybody knows about this, and nor should they.
Even Fabrizio doesn't even know yet, but we get this scoop here. Sorare Saudi Arabia, the exclusive Saudi Arabian podcast.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
We've got plenty of really great segments coming up. We've got How Much Is That Camel? We've got Junes. Alistair's Bazaar, where I take you through just a local bazaar and point out some beautiful objects. It's going to be great. So look, tune in. Sorare Saudi Arabia. Sorare Down Under is dead. We're all aboard the Saudi train. Let's go. G'day mates, welcome back to Sorare Down Under. We're not going anywhere. That was all a joke. Obviously. Or was it? Look, it's me again. It's just me. I still don't have Simon with me, which makes things a little bit awkward, obviously. But seems like everyone was, not too put off by my solo episode last week. So I thought I'd jump back on the mic again and just chat. Yeah, see what's going on. We're in the middle of a game week as we speak right now, which is a little bit rare. We usually don't record kind of on the weekend, but work was just hectic this week, so didn't get a chance to get anything down. But I'm currently watching Orlando City and Portland play, and I'm in a pretty decent spot for Cap 270. So hoping for a Orlando clean sheet and hoping for Claudio Bravo to not ruin my life like he does most weeks.
A few minutes later.
No! So if I start crying midway through the podcast, that might be why. Cool. All right. So, I didn't really have much of a topic in mind to talk about today. I thought maybe I'd give you guys just a bit of an update on my strategy currently and what I'm kind of planning for the upcoming European season. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards Channy's strategy, which is Channy's not playing at all during the off season, which I don't have that level of self control.
I'm bored.
I don't think he does either. By the way, I think he'll be back. I think think like give him a couple more weeks and he'll probably buy himself a little MLS team just to get that fix. But I kind of made the decision relatively recently that I wasn't going to invest anymore in American cards. I've bought a few, I've got a few decent ones. Let's have a look. Where's my screen? So I've got Gustavo Bo there. I've got Sho Sasaki, who I'm happy with. I've got Stuver, Glesnes, Roger Guedes, Darwin Quintero, Rojas. So these are all like Mota. Oh, that one hurt, losing him. So I've got some pretty good kind of, pretty good depth in the American leagues. I've got the odd Asian player there that I can chip in as well. But basically kind of made the decision that I'm not going to invest in any more players. I'm just going to stick with what I've got, and anything that I win or any ETH that I put into the platform, I'm going to put towards trying to pick up some good, strong European players for next year. So currently I've got a pretty... I'd say it's a pretty decent team that I've got lined up, for when the European leagues are back. I've recently just purchased Nicolas Otamendi, which I'm very happy with. Olivia Boscagli is one that I picked up for, I think, like half an ETH. I've got him up there, but I don't think anyone's going to pay that for him. But picked him up for half an ETH, which I was very happy with. He was an absolute destroyer for PSV a few seasons ago and was injured last year, so kind of hoping that he can get back to that form that he once had. This is, I don't want the highest price. New? What else have I been doing? Yeah, picked up a Luca Oyen. This is one of my buy lows. Yeah, one of my buy lows a few weeks ago, and I thought I've spent so many weeks. I've had so many weeks where I've put out these buy lows, sell highs for everyone, and so many of them have actually gone on and like kicked on to be amazing. So I kind of started thinking, right, I need to actually start following my own advice on this. So pulled the trigger on a Luca Oyen on auctions. So I may not be able to get any utility out of him this coming season. He may just be, playing a lot of bench minutes, but from all accounts and what I have seen of him, he looks really good. He got injured last year, so hopefully he can come back from that okay. But yeah, I'm excited to see how he turns out. It's nice to kind of pick up a super rare of a player that's young and obviously has some talent. So interesting to see how he goes. Julian Dessart's going to be my kind of like midfield Mr. Reliable in the super rare division next year. So my strategy really is to kind of go for players that I know have got pretty high floors. I still probably need that one midfielder that is like 100 capable, and I probably need a better European forward as well. But my plan is kind of based around the idea that in super rare, if you can get 5 players to score 60 to 65, you're probably doing pretty well in the super rare division. Whereas in rare, if you're only getting 330, 340 points, you might scrape in with a tier 5 or a tier 4. But in super rare, those consistent players are the kind of players that I'm looking for. So Dessart is someone who, pretty much always gets good, strong AA, and I think next year he might have a bit more of a creative role, and hopefully we'll get a few more decisives this year. And then, Nicolas Otamendi is another example of someone who's not necessarily going to score lots of goals or get assists or anything like that, but he's always dependable for that 60, 70 score. So if I can have a couple of them, and then, if my goalkeeper does well, then all of a sudden I'm well and truly in the mix, and I just need to get, 1 or 2 decisives from my other players, and I'm right up there. So Boscagli, a little bit more of a kind of attacking defender. So whether I run Boscagli and Otamendi in the same team, I'm not sure, or whether I can try and pick up another kind of strong midfielder. That's yet to be determined. Obviously, when there's that kind of crossover between the American seasons and the Asian seasons, I can probably play someone like a Sho Sasaki in there as well, who's a certified crusher. Looking through my gallery, really hoping Maxim goes back to Gaziantep and continues to be great.
Hey, miss your stupid face.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Henriks, maybe kick on or even maybe possibly get a move somewhere in the transfer window. I haven't heard anything, but, I feel like people rate Benjamin Hendricks. It's about time that he kind of kicks on and does something. Other than that, not much else going on. Nicola Storm is Nicola Storm. You know, if Michelin play better than they did last season, he could be great again. Who else am I kind of? Daniel West finished the season really poorly, but if he kind of goes back to what he was doing, which was taking all pens and all sets and all corners for Brøndby, then yeah, he could be an absolute crusher as well.
So watch this video to find out about hidden signs that you might be lying to yourself.
Yeah, I'm not quite there with my squad. Like I said, I think I need a strong mid and a strong forward, but yeah, it's all coming together nicely. So obviously, as you can see, I've got no ETH in my wallet right now, so no purchases are being made anytime soon, but hopefully we can get a bit of a win, pick up a few thresholds over the next couple of weeks, and yeah, start reinvesting it. Okay, I wanted to talk about, I guess, something that Laird was discussing on his podcast off topic the other day, which is the concept of Sorare as an investment versus just something like a game that you can have fun with. And I think most people probably quite wisely say that you shouldn't treat it as an investment because that, you know, puts a lot of pressure on you. It you know, can create problems financially for people if they feel like they're overinvested and then they've lost half their gallery value, and you know, that is very stressful. I understand that. I think personally, I have benefited from just being on the platform for a relatively long time. By no means did I get in, you know, before, you know, I think Quinny and Black were talking about buying, you know, an Antoine Griezmann for $20, you know, back in 2021. You know, I didn't get in at that point. I got in well and truly like at the height of the Gary V boom. So
the drug of my choice is gratitude.
I overpaid for everything pretty much. So really I should be in a bad position, but because I've been playing the game for 2 years, over 2 years now, all of the money that I've put in, all of the decisions I've made around players to buy, all the rewards that I have won, that has compounded over the years to a point where, whilst I still took a massive hit along with everyone else during the last dip, my gallery value is higher than the amount of money that I've put in. So, I will continue to kind of see it as an investment for that reason, because I do see long term, so long as Sorare is still around, that money that I'm putting in, as long as I'm relatively regularly churning out rewards and thresholds and making, you know, semi-smart decisions on buying certain players, I do see the potential for that investment to just continue to compound over the years. I mean, my goal really is to try and get to a point where I've got a $250,000, $300,000 gallery, which might sound ridiculous coming from where I'm at the current moment, but I think with regular investments and smart decision making,
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I think with time I can get to that point. I think the key is just not to panic and pull all your money out, you know, when we have a dip like we've just had. I think we will have more dips, we will have more boom periods, but I think if you are treating it as an investment, you need to remind yourself that all investments benefit from just time. You know, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. So that's the way I look at it anyway, which is probably not a very popular Sorare opinion, but yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. Got a couple of topics from the Twitter world.
Hey, Twitter world, this is yours truly.
What have we got here? Okay. We've got a comment from yeswayjose.eth, fellow Aussie. I've chatted to Yesway Jose in Discord a few times. Have you ever introduced a friend to Sorare and they've stuck with it? I have, to quite a few friends. Obviously Simon, my brother, my co-host, my co-pilot.
You're my brother.
I introduced him to it relatively early on, again, kind of at the peak of that Gary V boom. And we both love it, obviously. We have a bloody Sorare podcast, for Christ's sakes. He's had a very different kind of journey to me. Obviously, I've been able to put more money in, which has certainly helped me kind of generate faster returns. he has also just had just terrible luck.
That was close.
He's had, kind of marquee players go down injured. He's had, just the worst DNPs at the worst times to rob him of rewards. He's had a very tough time of it, and because he was on a smaller budget, he has struggled to kind of get that momentum. And there's certainly been times where he's like, I am very close to thinking about bailing on this. So, but I think he's I think he's kind of come to terms with the fact that he's probably, I think he does see it as an investment as well, like I do. But I think he's kind of at a point where he's more at ease with the fact that if the investment doesn't pay off, then so be it, and hopefully have a bit of fun with it. Obviously, we had a few episodes ago, we talked about how he wants to move from America to Europe in his focus, and I think that will be a great move for him because he's starting to slowly build a gallery of some really consistent high performers in strong teams, and I think that's just going to make the world of difference to his gallery and hopefully his enjoyment of the platform. Outside of that, I have introduced it to a couple of my close mates who really dived into it. It was around the time when Limiteds kind of had just come out, and they were pretty expensive, but obviously for someone who's coming in, I think it's very hard for them to ignore the Limiteds and go into the rares and super rares straight away, which is fair. I did kind of suggest to them, look, if it was me, I would be putting, if you like the platform, I would be putting my money into rares and super rares and then kind of letting that trickle down. And if you want to start running a limited team, once you've started to generate a few rewards or a few thresholds, then, you can. They dived in pretty heavily into the limiteds. Did okay. I guess they really learnt the hard way just how difficult Sorare is and how much luck comes into it. They had a lot of close calls. A couple of them had a few wins early on. I think one of my mates finished second in All-Star Limited pretty early on in his kind of Sorare career, so he got that big win. But both of them have now pulled their money out of the platform, partly due to the fact that there was the kind of Sorare crash. They got out relatively early, so they didn't really take too much of a hit. But for them, both of them just had other financial things they needed to deal with, so they kind of pulled their money out. I think they've both started to dip their toes back in a little bit with some limited cards, the odd limited cap 240 team or something like that. And I know one of my mates is pretty keen eventually to, once financially he's kind of at a point where he can invest, I think he does want to come back onto the platform. So I don't think any of them were burnt by Sorare, but they did probably have a pretty tough time, pretty tough time of it. Probably because they tried to just go for quantity over quality when they were buying their players, despite my advice. I've also recently introduced another friend who's quite hesitant to put any decent money into the platform. He really didn't want to go down that route. He started by putting on $150, I think. Picked up a few limiteds. I think he's hit the threshold a couple of times, but I think because he didn't have a huge budget, he didn't have really good players. He didn't have players that he knew, didn't have players that he could watch. And I think his interest has waned as a result pretty quickly. I think he, had a few weeks where he had a DNP or, just never got anywhere close to the rewards. And I think he just kind of lost interest, to be honest. So,
well, fuck this fucking game.
I think that's interesting to see someone coming in on a low budget, not necessarily having the most fun, which kind of makes sense. Keep in mind, this was before they introduced the free-to-play. So he probably, if he was to re-engage with Sorare, I think he would probably get a lot of enjoyment out of the free-to-play Premier League leagues, for example, because he knows those players. He can watch them, run around with the potential of winning a reward, if things go well. So I haven't given up on him either. But yeah, interesting to see just how you kind of do need money to buy the best players if you really want to get the most enjoyment out of it, because you do need to win at the end of the day. Okay. All right, what do we got next? We've got a question here from Tioch. First 5-card lineup you buy if/when the A-League comes out. Ooh, good question.
Can somebody please tell me when is A-League?
Okay. I would go in defense. I'd probably, you have to kind of go Western Sydney Wanderers defensive stack just based on last season. They got the most clean sheets. I think they got like 11 clean sheets. Lawrence Thomas is the goalkeeper, and I'd probably go Marcelo at the back. Marcelo I'd probably get in defense. He's been pretty solid for them. I mean, I think he's just re-signed with them, so he should be there for another year. And yeah, combining him with Lawrence Thomas, you probably can't go wrong. In midfield, I would go for sure Craig Goodwin. Craig Goodwin is kind of like the Carlos Heel of Adelaide.
I don't understand nothing today. He's
kind of does everything, scores goals, gets assists. I think he was second on the list for goals and assists this year. And yeah, he just does everything for them. Plays for the Socceroos as well, so might get some international utility at some point. But yeah, I would definitely pick up Craig. I think that'd probably be the first card I buy, just because he ticks all the boxes for me in terms of the so rare side of things. I would you kind of have to go Jamie McLaren up front as long as he stays with Melbourne City. 24 goals, 3 assists over the season. Probably not going to get much AA out of Jamie. He's a bit of an Erling Haaland type, but he's going to bang in those decisives for you. And especially if the A-League is in the Asia tournaments, I think having someone who's so decisive capable is probably really handy, because there's not really that many good forwards in Asia. So apart from obviously Senior and that, maybe Mateus Castro, but yeah, McLaren would have to be the guy that I'd go for up front. I probably would also go with Jamie Cummings, but I think he is leaving. Jamie Cummings.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Nope. Cummings. A-League. What's his name? Jason. Jason Cummings. Sorry, Jason. I'm so sorry. I would go Jason Cummings because he's great, but I think he's probably leaving. And then I would probably go a midfielder. I could possibly go either Nestori in Irankanda. I hope I'm getting that right. Irankanda? Nestori. Yeah, here he is. So this guy he mostly played bench minutes this year, but he's got an excellent highlight reel already. He's only 17 years old. I think Liverpool and Bayern and a bunch of countries have been looking at him. I don't think he's going to go just yet. If he gets one more year for Adelaide and plays, alongside Craig Goodwin, I think he could have a real breakout year, and he could be one of the under 23 players to have. If not him, I would probably want to pick up a Daniel Arzani, just because I think he's really good, and he looked just amazing for us when he came on the pitch at the World Cup a few years ago. Not the most recent World Cup, but the one before. And then he just got injured a bunch. I think he went and played for Celtic for a bit. He's back in the A-League now. I really hope he can kind of kick on and become, fulfill his potential, I guess. So I would definitely want to pick up a Daniel Arzani card. I'd be quite excited about that. I'd probably want to try and pick up his Super Rare as well, just because, I can see the talent there. Okay. So that's my 5. Western Sydney Wanderers stack at the back, Craig Goodwin and probably Daniel Arzani in the midfield, and then Jamie McLaren up top, which I think would do pretty well. I think that team would crush most weeks. Okay, have we got any more topics? Yes, okay. So, Javier. I'm assuming that's Javier Sorare, another Australian. He has asked, he's given us a topic: how to explain Sorare to non-Sorare people, i.e., family, friends, sports club teammates. That's a good question. I would explain it like Sorare is like when 100 people purchase a part of a football player's soul, and that soul is represented in a digital JPEG image, and basically once you've purchased a part of that player's soul, you are now interlinked for every single game, kind of like how Harry Potter, like his scar hurts when Voldemort's taking a painful poo or whatever, kind of like that. Okay, no, that's probably not a good way to explain it. How would I describe it? I have described it in the past to people as kind of like, again, going down this kind of investment route. Obviously, if you just want to look at it from a fun perspective, I would just say, look, it's a fantasy game that you play with, you play online, but you own the assets, I suppose. You own your fantasy pieces. But the way I kind of explain it to people is like it is kind of like investing in the stock market or the share market, whatever you want to call it, in that you're investing in these players and their value goes up and down depending on form, depending on injuries, depending on transfers, kind of similar to how a stock that you buy would go up or down depending on how well the company is performing, or news that might affect how that company can perform. That sends the price up and down. And I think with Sorare, you can kind of either invest kind of more geared towards like capital gains. So you might try and buy a young up and coming player and then sell them when they break out, or purchase a backup goalkeeper and then sell them when they become the starter. Similar to you might buy Kodak stock because no one uses Kodak anymore, in the hopes that eventually Kodak makes a big comeback and you can, sell those Kodak shares for heaps more than you bought them for. Probably a terrible example, but you get my drift. So you can kind of invest in these players for capital gains, or you can invest in them for like dividends by using the players in a fantasy game. So you buy stocks in the player, which is your the actual card, and then you use them in the fantasy game, which then kind of generates rewards or dividends, like you would with a stock that you would own. So, and obviously those dividends come in the form of either ETH or card, like more NFTs that you can then sell on, on the open market for value. So, I mean, that's probably not a great way to explain Sorare to people, but it is a way that I've explained how it can be like a money-making tool, I suppose, in that you are investing in these players. So, yeah, probably not the clearest way to put it, but it's a way. I think the simplest way that I've ever explained it to people is like, it's just like gambling, but when you lose, you don't lose your money. You keep your bet, and you can gamble again with that stake next week. It's probably the simplest way to put it. Obviously, that's very reductive because it's a very complicated game and there's all these other things that go into it. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. Obviously, we don't want to, it's not a gambling platform, of course. Okay. Look, where are we? I think we've kind of covered quite a lot of stuff. I don't want to drag on too long. Let me just check on my Sorare players live. Okay. No one has conceded anything yet. That is a good sign. All right, we're in the clear. Maybe if I keep talking, Pedro Gaeci won't concede a goal. All right, look, I think that was fun. Next week, hopefully we've got Simon back, and we can kind of go back to normal resumption of programming. But yeah, let us know what you think. If you've got any more topics or questions that you want us to answer on future podcasts, let us know. It has been quite fun, actually, like interacting with people and answering people's questions, and it gives me something to talk about. So absolutely love it. Cool. All right. Well, good luck, everyone, in the upcoming game week. I'm not too confident about my current game week. I'm kind of counting down the days to Europe so I can roll out some of my new purchases. But Still going to have a lot of fun in the off season with those players that I've got. So, yeah, good luck everyone, and we will catch you next week. See you, mates.